One of the main problems that we have as a decorator is when we go into people's homes, we really don't know what we're going to be looking at when we're looking at the woodwork. We don't know whether it's going to be water-based, which is perfect if it is already on the skirting boards and doors, or if it's oil-based, it means that we're going to have to really go down the route of putting 3 coats of paint on. The problem with that is that each coat could take 4 to 6 hours to dry. So if you're trying to get 3 coats on in a day, then it can really give you problems. To be fair, the primer only normally takes about an hour to dry, but still it's tight to try and get things done within the day. So what we're going to do is we're going to test various paints, interior and exterior, some which should cover straight over oil base without a primer, some which might not, but we'll test it anyway, and we'll see which is the best universal paint, whether it's for a painter and decorator or for just somebody who's doing DIY. What's the best paint that can kind of cover the majority of circumstances? There are paints out there now like the all coat. That shouldn't need a primer, and that should go over pretty much any surface, and that is an internal external paint. Also the Bedeck Advanced, it's just a little sample tin. That again, interior or exterior, self-priming should go over pretty much anything, so really interested to see how those two go up. We have, coming up in a couple of months' time, got quite a big window refurbishment project for exterior painting, so we're really interested in those two. And then the Johnson's AquaGuard is getting great reviews. I actually just use the Johnson's Aqua Satin at the minute. The only downside of that is the drying time, and also you need to put a primer on before you use satin, where I'm told that with this you don't necessarily need a primer if you're going over oil-based paint. And then we're going to use a few other different paints as well, just to see how they get on and how they compare. But what I'll do is I'll get my trusty demo window, which is this picture frame. We'll get this primed up. We'll put a coat of oil-based gloss over it, which is what we tend to come in some of the, well, majority of homes, to be fair, which are getting redecorated. And then it'll probably be the following day then, and we'll come back and see how basically the other paints get on. It's the day after. The frame is painted, both sides actually, and what we've done, you can see that we've put these labels here, and we're going to try a different type of paint on each side of the frame. Now, what we didn't tell you before is we've actually got a sample of the liquid masking, so we're going to be trying that as well. So on this side we'll put the liquid masking all over the frame. Now remember, this is oil based, and the liquid masking isn't just masking, it's a primer, so it'll be interesting to see how the primer goes over the oil based paint. And then on the other side we'll basically do the same thing, but we won't use the liquid mask. All we'll do is we'll go straight over the oil based paint with the Zinsser All Coat, the Johnson's AquaGuard and the Bedeck Multi-Surface, and maybe we'll use 1 or 2 others as well if we get a chance. But we'll get this tape taken off from around the edges, we'll get the liquid mask on, and then we'll take it from there. So the Walther Strong H2O liquid mask, we've just applied that. I'll show you what that's like. So that's gone all over the frame and all over the glass. What I would say is the frame has been dry for well over half an hour, but it's still a bit tacky on the actual the glass. But one thing I did do is I did put quite a thick coat on, so you kind of have got the option of, would you put 2 thinner coats on and let it dry quicker, or actually put 1 thick coat on. That has been well, since I put that on, that's been probably about, I'd say about an hour and a half. So it does say it should be drying 60 minutes, but the the adhesion and it's really cured well around the frame, which is what I'm looking to kind of get carry on now. So what we're going to do is we'll get the all coat on the left, AquaGuard on the top, Bedeck on the right, and then we'll come back and we'll see how they've done. Okay, we're back. I think this is about the third or fourth day that we've been doing this test. We've had a haircut in between, so yeah, an update as to where we are with the frame. So the frame has had the liquid mask put all over it. So the bottom is liquid mask only, and just making sure how that adheres to the oil based underneath. This side we've got the all coat, this side the Bedeck multi-surface, and the top we've got the Johnson's AquaGuard. So if you just want to have a look there. So first impressions, all of them, doing a bit of a scratch test, they've adhered really, really well. So there's no problem with that. Like we said, the test is oil-based underneath, then the masking as the primer as well, and then these as the top coats. We've done 2 top coats. The all coat going onto this surface, really, it's quite a thin paint, and I think you need a 3rd coat of that. It's adhered well, and it's a like smooth coating of paint, but I would put a 3rd coat of that on, whereas the others have gone on good as the 2nd coat, and these are a thicker paint. So we've got the liquid mask on here as well. So our next job then is to cut the liquid mask off and see how this peels off. So we'll do that now. Okay, so that's pretty much all come off in one go. I'll show you a few little bits. So there's a few little bits around the edges here that haven't come off, but I think they're just like scrape off. So it's coming off. There's a little bit around the edges, but you've got to remember that that is a plastic frame. We're not going onto glass, so that is plastic. And also as well, I've actually painted this before I put the liquid mask on, and I think these kind of edges here are sticking where I've got paint before without going on and then going on with the liquid mask afterwards. And if you think the liquid mask would actually adhere to the paint because it is a primer as well, but I'm pretty happy with that. You can see where I haven't painted on the bottom, that's all come straight off. So here it's just the liquid mask. That's just to show what that looks like. That is just liquid mask, and that is primed really well. I'm amazed how well that's primed. I didn't expect it to be so good, if I'm honest. Then we've got the all coat here, so just scratching that. It's kind of marking the paint, but the paint is by no means peeling in any way at all. Then this side we've got the Bedeck MSP, and it's exactly the same with that. You can scratch the paint because it's still soft a little bit, but it's no way coming off and peeling off the primer. And then here we've got the AquaGuard, and the same with that. So as for the finish, the all coat is actually the worst, but if you were pulling that on a real smooth surface, that would be okay. But for me doing external refurbishment of windows, it's actually pushed me down the route of going for the Bedeck for exterior work, and I'll be using that on our upcoming projects that I'm using. And then for interior work, the good old AquaGuard, that's gone on really well. Again, you can scratch it there with your nail, but it's only been on a day, So that will be good, and how it's adhered is fantastic. Now, one thing I'm going to do as well is that on the back of the frame, this has all had a layer of oil-based gloss, and I'm going to do exactly the same test without a primer and just go straight over the top of these three products and see how it sticks to the oil-based. I think it'll be really interesting. I'm just going to go around these. So where we've gone with the paint directly over oil-based, and we've not used a primer, we've just gone straight over to see what it sticks like. Let's see if we get anything lifting off with a tape. I mean, this is a parcel tape, it's not a painter's tape. So if we have a problem, then yeah, it's not going to be, it's quite forgiving as a painter's tape, I'd hope. So let's put that on there. Ah, no, that is interesting. Look at that. So that's the lick tape that's come off. So the lick tape, the lick paint. Let's try that again. So let's go, I'm going to go for the Bedeck next. Let's rub that on. Okay, so that's on there. Let's pull that off. Absolutely nothing. That is really interesting. Really interesting. Okay, for the all coat. Okay, take that off. Ah, see, that's interesting. There's a little bit there from the all coat. Look, I wouldn't say it's pulled. I wouldn't say it's noticeable, but it certainly has. And then, okay, the AquaGuard. This is going to be really interesting as well, because I've heard that you don't need a primer with this to go over oil based, but let's find out. There you go, look. That's gone on pretty well. So I'm going to test that Bedeck again, just as a little double check. And take that off. A tiny bit on the corner, which I'm not going to, how the edges of these are, I'm not going to hold that against it. So that is, again, really surprising. So if you're going over oil based, then that shows, can you see there? That shows exactly why you need the primer, because that has pulled that paint off. So yeah, that's why you need a primer when going over oil-based paint. Even with me rubbing my finger on, digging my nail in, it wasn't coming off that bad, whereas that shows it right there. So if you're looking for a paint and you are doing an internal or external, or you just want to carry one tin of paint around with you, then Bedeck multi-surface, give that a go. I've actually got a project coming up next week where somebody's asked me to do grey skirting boards, grey dado rails, grey beading, and because there's so many different surfaces, I've actually ordered a tin of this. I'm going to do all of it together for the reason that this will go over everything. I'll report back and I'll let you know how that's gone. But I'd be interested to paint a door with that and see how good it comes out on like a 6-panel interior door. But on the other hand, if you're only doing interior woodwork and you want one paint to keep with you, it's expensive, but the Johnson's AquaGuard, it's not a bad shout, is it? Because you know then, going from that test, you definitely don't need a primer. So that's something, again, great test, and I've learnt a lot. That's a surprise. It's kind of surprise and not a surprise on that lick. Put your finger on it and it seems pretty good, but you put that tape off and that's pulled that clean off there. So yeah, interesting. Definitely leave some messages and see what else we can test, because I want to take this further. For me, as a decorator, I'm trying to reduce my drying times, and I'm trying to reduce the different amounts of paint and things like that I carry with me. I like to know exactly what paint to use and how long things are going to take me. So when I come to a job, I can plan out exactly what I'm doing, what days, and I know how long I'm going to be there for. And things like that, the AquaGuard or the MSP or even that lick paint, to be fair, because that does dry pretty quick. So you can get, for the lick for instance, you could have 3 coats of that on a primer and 2 top coats done in 3 hours, whereas on your standard water-based paint you're getting 1 coat in an hour. So things to think about, but I'm definitely going to carry on with this and definitely keep testing. So I think the video's gone a little bit longer than what we're planning, but that's because there's been a lot going on. But yeah, more to come, so keep tuned.